Hello and welcome to Focus 54, the show that focuses on all things to do with Africa. My name is Jeffrey Murimbechi, and today we are touching on a different perspective of the African context. We are talking about skills and finding out, does Africa have everything that is required for it to compete in the future economies and to be in line with the rest of the world? And we will be talking to an honorable minister. In fact, we'll be talking to the honorable minister, Professor Paul Mavima, who is in charge of the Ministry of Skills Audit and Development within the Zimbabwean government. But before we do that, we kickstart with issues that are happening within the African context, and we start off in the south of Zimbabwe, where, in fact, in the southern part of Africa, where the country, Zimbabwe, the country hosts the SADC Council of Ministers to review the status of implementation of previous decisions that the council had made. And the meeting will proceed in the Standing Committee of Senior Officials, with the Finance Committee meeting and a meeting of the senior officials and key experts in the implementation of the regional indicative strategic development plan, which is known as the RIS PD, from the year 2030 to the year 2020 in retrospect. And that will take place from the 4th to the 7th of this month. And we go straight to the center of Africa, where one cataclysmic event has changed the price of a key mineral in the world, and that is in DRC, where the price of cobalt has skyrocketed a little bit thanks to the DRC Congo's pause in exports. Now, last month, Kinshasa, the world's biggest producer, announced a surprise ban on exports of cobalt in a bid to drive prices up. Authorities say that the 4-month wait is to establish the market, which has been burdened by oversupply. Now, looking at all the issues that have been surrounding conflicts within the DRC and the many armed groups, Focus 54 will keep a close eye on that. We'll turn to East Africa in Uganda, which has deployed forces to South Sudan as civil war fears have grown within that area, and the deployment of Ugandan troops to South Sudan underscores the rising tensions of the oil-producing country and has plagued the political instability and violence that has since gained traction since South Sudan gained independence in the year 2011. And finally, as we look at African news, global healthcare is now at the crossroads as African scientists seek local solutions. And if we go and track back, this goes back as far as the COVID-19 pandemic, which saw many African countries, even Zimbabweans and a lot of its citizenry, looking at African solution. Now, the global healthcare landscape is facing significant changes following the decisions as well by former U.S. President and now U.S. President Donald Trump to reshape America's humanitarian efforts worldwide. Now, one of the most impactful moves is the cutting of funding to USAID. For Focus 54, we'll stay tuned because we have bigger issues and we are focusing on the soft skills within Africa. And let's get to the minister's office and find out what the minister has for us this segment. Welcome back to Focus 54, to the second segment, where we are going to dive into our key issues today, where we're talking about the skills gap, not only within the world, but focusing on Africa and Zimbabwe, to find out where exactly do we stand as the world economy and the digital world and technology is moving forward. And today we are fortunate enough to have been hosted and to be hosted by Honorable Minister Professor Paul Mavima, who is the Minister of Skills Audit and Development within the Zimbabwean government. You have a massive task, a massive portfolio that has to do with analyzing and evaluating the skills gap according to the trends of what is happening not only in Zimbabwe but in the rest of the world. Honorable Minister, let's dive straight into it. How has the Ministry of Skills Audit and Development gone so far as to establish the status of skills within the country and to establish the gap between where we should be and where we are? What is the current state of affairs in Zimbabwe?
Thank you, Jeff. We know from two events that took place. The first one was the 2018 Skills Audit, which was conducted under the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, and the consultations that this new ministry has been undertaking throughout the year 2024. 39 consultations, 29 at the national level and 10 at the provincial levels. We confirmed that we do have indeed massive skills gaps, mainly in the areas of STEM. The areas of STEM relate to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So basically science, technology, the innovation kinds of skills are where we lack most in this country. 2018 basically said Zimbabwe had a skills gap of about 62%, varying among the various sectors. So that's what we found out. We have a little bit of optimal levels of skills, especially in the commercial areas, but the science and technology, as well as creative arts areas, we lack.
Honorable, 62% is very alarming, Honorable Minister, and thank you so much for enlightening us on this figure. And on a recent report as well, the World Economic Forum underscores the growing importance of digital skills. How is Zimbabwe equipping its workforce to thrive in the digital transforming world?
We are using both the formal and orthodox institutions that we have in our universities, our polytechnics. I will tell you that other African countries have really decentralized the provision and delivery of digital skills. And examples, very good examples, are Rwanda, Kenya, to some extent South Africa. These have decentralized. Apart from doing these skills in ivory towers, where only those who are academically gifted have access, they have provided almost in their communities these digital skills, starting with very rudimentary skills like your just computer appreciation, to word processing, your Excel spreadsheets, your basic Excel, which is data analysis and other things like that. But going further to the more important and higher level skills like coding, software development, appreciation of AI, and understanding where AI could be deployed so that it's useful in propelling industrial productivity and competitiveness. So those countries have done extremely well. Zimbabwe starts off from a very good base of a very strong basic education system, which has made us number one in terms of literacy and numeracy in Africa. But we need to now make sure that the citizenry of Zimbabwe has really come to the table as far as digital skills are concerned. And we need very aggressive and robust programs to push for that. The World Economic Forum is talking about skills of the future, the future of work, which essentially is going to center around the fourth industrial revolution. And we need as a nation to embrace that and use our very good educational system to transcend where we are now, so that we can deploy these systems for global competitiveness and for.
Honorable Minister, what implications will this digital shift do for Africa's development trajectory, and how can the continent harness the transformation of the digital world as it strives to grow and become prosperous?
We are in a privileged position as Zimbabwe, like I said before, because of the investments that our government, from the First Republic into the Second Republic, have made in education. I will tell you that the biggest challenge that Africa has, because we sometimes talk about the demographic dividend, basically referring to the youthful population that Africa has. But we fail to realize that this demographic dividend will not accrue as long as this youthful population does not have adequate skills and competencies to drive the development of the continent. So we'll end up with a lot of outward migration of the youthful population to go and take largely manual jobs abroad. So what Africa needs to do is, first and foremost, invest thoroughly in basic education, preparing the citizenry, the youngsters, for a robust tertiary education system. We have done well as Zimbabwe as far as that is concerned. We need to just continue to put more resources into human capital development. We have seen the transformation that is taking place in our tertiary education system. We have also seen the transformation that is taking place in our primary and secondary education, especially through the competence-based and skills-based curriculum that we have now established. Africa needs to do that. Africa needs to not just put resources in like the Dakar Declaration stated, but we need a transformation into the fourth industrial revolution, into the 21st century approaches that are being taken by other countries. This is where Africa can leapfrog the development of its economies.
You touched on something that is very sensitive and closer to me than and many other. Africa, like you said, has a huge population, huge youthful population. Quite a number of Africans have emigrated to foreign countries, and we know the culture within Africa. Once a young man or young woman leaves home, they usually send back something back home in the form of remittances.
Yeah.
Beyond the money, Honorable Minister, you have touched on something that is very personal to me and a lot of young people. Looking at this African continent, as you've said, it has the highest population of young people. A lot of them have immigrated to foreign lands, and as you know, in our African context, once a child leaves home, they always send something back in the form of money, and we have noted that we have had remittances and things such as money coming back. Looking at the skills that they're exposed to, how do we manage these remittances and skills so that we can develop those that are back at home?
Yeah, the remittances are quite considerable. And the money comes from both the higher skilled diaspora, African diaspora, as well as the lower skilled diaspora. So the money is very important, but the money has to be put out through formal channels. Mm-hmm. For example, in this country, we are getting more than $1 billion in terms of remittances on an annual basis. So the money is very important coming from the diaspora. The other aspect, which is also very important, which largely comes from the higher level skills and experiences that our diaspora has garnered internationally, is important by way of then transferring these skills back into the country. Mm-hmm. Or onto the continent. We have to have databases of the African diaspora indicating the skills that they have, especially the higher end skills. I talked about STEM, but let's get our people who are into robotics, who are into AI, who are into modern production systems to contribute to all the sectors. We need, for example, we need precision agriculture. Mm. We need to start thinking about industrial frameworks and systems that are designed specifically for value addition of the raw materials that we have on the African continent. So we have a lot of people who have now developed the capacity to design these systems. Let's tap into them, even if they don't come home physically.
But they can
at least connect with industry here, with institutions here. They can then remotely contribute, but they can also come on short stints.
Honorable Minister, I'm going to put you under the spotlight as we take a break, and without completely giving a summation of what you have said. Honorable Minister, for giving us your thoughts and all of the statistics, especially that 62%, that is quite alarming. You have spoken about artificial intelligence, where the world is going, and the more advanced versions of where the skill set within the global world is going. You've also mentioned the fourth industrial revolution. I'm sure we're ready for the fifth. But as we take a break on Focus 54, we will ask and put the Honorable Minister under the spotlight a little bit more when we talk about those in communal areas, those in marginalized areas, and those that are like you and me, especially when on how they can be a part of this industrial revolution. Welcome back to the final segment of Focus 54, where we are hosted by Honorable Minister Professor Paul Mavima. In the first segment, or the second segment rather, he did speak about where the world is going with a lot of statistics and all the fancy things that are happening in the world, and Zimbabwe is catching up to this. But now, Honorable Minister, what we need to talk about is what sort of work is your ministry doing to help those in marginalized communities, speaking about the youth and those within the rural context?
Okay. We start from a philosophical position that says we cannot have optimal development if we leave sections of our communities from the development agenda of the nation. You will also find out that the widest majority of our people are in rural areas. And if we leave those areas behind, we are essentially shooting ourselves in the foot. We need to be guided by His Excellency's mantra of leaving no one and no place behind. In that regard, what we have started to do is to decentralize the provision of digital skills, for example, to all areas of the country. You saw the president launching the DG track, which is a collaboration between our ministry and the Ministry of ICT and Courier Service. We would like to have at most 10, at least 10 of those DG tracks going to all communities. You also understand that we have established information centers across the country. Most of the old post office buildings, even at district level, have been converted into information centers, which are useful in terms of giving basic digital skills to our people. But we are doing a techno hub. We'll start with Harare, and this techno hub is going to be an unorthodox school for high-end 21st century skills. Your coding, your software development, your cyber security, your AI applications, your networking, and at that techno hub, we are also going to have a startup incubation, especially in the same areas.
So this means that entrepreneurs
yes,
and young
yes,
people
yes, we can develop them, provide them with mentorship, and we want then, once this proof of concept is established here in Harare, we should go out into the hinterland and provide the same, so that we are offering the basic skills, but we are also offering the higher end skills. And we are saying it's not your 15-pointer that we are not looking only at 15-pointers at A level, but we are saying to our people, if you have the passion, if you have the talent, here is an open school where you can come and show your talent and get the opportunity to develop these skills, which have now opened up opportunities for remote employment with very big companies, which has also opened opportunities for the development of tech startups through the development of applications that can be sold everywhere in the world.
Now, Honorable Minister, I'm a bit jealous that these hubs are now opening up after I had gone through the old educational system. But I'm sure my young brothers and sisters will benefit from this. Now, looking ahead and considering the nation's vision 2030, something that is already in motion, and looking at NDS2, how can Zimbabwe position itself as the leader of innovation, skills development in Southern Africa, particularly in relation to global trends that are outlined by the World Economic Forum?
I will tell you what we need to do as a nation. We need to aggressively fund the research and development of science, technology, innovation at our institutions of higher learning, but we need to cascade that to lower levels of training, to polytechnics, as well as to technical and vocational centers. The technical and vocational centers are really the workshops for the application of the innovations and research products that are coming out of our universities. They have to be positioned to effectively apply. But in order to do that, there has to be massive investment in the infrastructure, the workshops, up-to-date technology, highly skilled trainers and mentors at these institutions. This way, I will tell you, all the issues that we are grappling with at the macroeconomic level, once this human capital has been developed, will be a thing of the past. Tinoti vamtuli tigadzirire stability in our economy without looking at the base. The base is human capital development. Once we have that, there will be stability at the macroeconomic level. So the starting point is human capital development. Let's fund research. Let's fund the development of our people. Let's fund and incentivize innovations. The private sector has also to come in to complement what the government is doing as far as the funding of research and innovation is concerned.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. And if I am to try and to impress you with my English, I would say that all the work that you're doing, the ministry is doing, the Second Republic is doing, is like the work of a bamboo tree. It will take a couple of years as it is building the roots, and there will be a sonic boom as it sprouts up within the very near future. And Vision 2030 is clearly in safe hands thanks to people like you, your ministry, the Second Republic, and those that are supporting that. We will make you commit, Honorable Minister, to come back to Focus 54, because this is a going concern. It's not over today, and we'll be constantly talking about issues of development. Now, as we sadly have to call this to a close, time is not a resource that is readily available to us. Focus 54, we will continue to tackle these issues such as skills, STEM, the fourth industrial revolution, to find out where we are as Zimbabwe and where the rest of the continent is, in line with where the rest of the world is. For Focus 54, catch us on the second, catch us on our social media platforms, and also catch us and get a repeat of this program on our YouTube page as well as our Facebook page. But sadly, we have to say goodbye for now.